welcome you all to the podcast series of Public Policy Club IIFT. Today we have Mr. Ravi Ranjan with us. He is an entrepreneurship preacher, a startup expert, two times TEDx speaker, and an alumni of the International Visitor Leadership Program. Mr. Ravi Ranjan has over 10 years of experience helping startup entrepreneurs and government across India in solving their problems using entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. A connector, a mentor, and a keen observer of ever-shifting startup ecosystem, society, business, and government space, Mr. Ravi has been spotting the social disruptions and changes while evaluating the risk and economic rewards. So thank you for your time and engagement with us.
Thank you so much, Aditya. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this initiative by the Public Policy Club at IIFT. I have had an opportunity to visit some of your campuses in Kolkata and Delhi, and now during this lockdown scenario, you guys have taken up this very interesting effort to bring thoughts together at the podcast series. So I think that's pretty wonderful. Glad to be part of this.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the motivations. It is really good for us to have a motivation directly coming from speakers and prominent personalities like you. Sir, we will move on to our questions then.
Sure.
The first question is, this pandemic has changed the world. The people have realized that the traditional dreams of getting placed in a multinational corporation and growing through the ranks is not a sure shot recipe for success now. So there is an increased interest in being your own boss. Do you think that the pandemic will result in a major shift in the way people views their career? This question is very relevant not only for a B school candidate but also for the technical backgrounds, the people coming from different IITs and technical schools. So what is your thoughts?
Thanks a lot, Aditya. I think that's a pretty interesting question. I have a very long answer to that, but I'll try and summarize. So let me start with my thoughts. So over the last few years, I've got an opportunity to travel across the country and outside, and I have trained more than 1.6 lakh students at the top IITs and IIMs and other institutes across the country. At the same time, if you look at the latest industry data, more than 90% engineers in India are unemployable, which means that they cannot find a suitable job once they graduate. Now, the biggest challenge is not that there are not enough jobs, it is that the skills are not available. Students are not equipped with skills which can give them good opportunity. That's one part of the problem. The second part of the problem is that post-COVID, the world is changing in a very fast pace. Companies are going to have less staff because you do not need to have the same physical operation. Also, a lot of technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning and chatbots are going to reduce the number of jobs. So in this time, I think the first thing which all the young aspiring students need to do, they need to equip themselves with good skills. Number two, they need to bring critical thinking and cognitive thinking so that they can be hired for high quality jobs which does not require basic basic input from management. That's the first part of the thing. The second part, which is very, very important, if you look at the best schools in the world, Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley, INSEAD, all these schools are not known for the placement. It's only India where we put so much emphasis on the placement of a particular college. If you go to any of the best schools in the country, be it a B school or a technology school, they are known for how many number of students are not going for placement. How many of them are going and building out a startup venture? I think few years down the line, India would also see the same trend. But as of now, in 2020, I would recommend all young, talented students to not wait for a job to come and, give you this flexibility. Sorry, not the flexibility, but the comfort. Oh, fine, I'll go to office 9 to 5. I'll get my salary at the end of the month. I'll buy a house, get a car. That's okay. I mean, there's no harm in that. But come on. If you're studying at the best B school or the best technical school, the least which is expected from you that you go out, solve problems for the society, try and elevate people from poverty, try and contribute to make this world a better place. We do not want management students who are studying, marketing and studying deep dive analytics to go and sell washing powder and toothpaste. We want you to solve real problems. Look at the best examples across the world. Google, Amazon, Dropbox, Swiggy. They are all solving some very interesting problems. So I think for all the students from both B schools and technical schools, um, if you think that no, I do not have the leadership capability, go ahead with the job. But it would be fair if you use all your learning to solve a problem, and that can be done once you become an entrepreneur.
Definitely, sir. I believe we students have to transform ourselves from job seekers to job providers to have a sustained economy, not only for the country, but also represent our country at the global level.
Certainly, Aditya. I think that's a very interesting point. So imagine today there are so many, of unemployment news which are coming up every day. Imagine a class of 100 students. If only 5 of them go out and build a startup, rest 95 can be acquired in the same companies. You don't even need to wait for a placement. So before a semester or a year gets over, you already have people employed in companies, and you can impact billions, millions of lives across the world. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Sir, the next question is, we have seen a lot of backslash against Indian startups like Zomato and other startups, which has Chinese venture backing them, especially after this China and India LSE tension. This forces us to a question that, in spite of being ranked third in the global startup ecosystem, why aren't there enough big scale venture capitalists in India? We have venture capitalists, but on a global top 100, we have just one venture capitalist, that is Koa Capital. No other venture capitalist from India can be accommodated in the global top 100. So why this situation has arisen, and how Indians can overcome this situation?
Certainly, Aditya. Again, a good question. Two-part answers to that. The first part, look at the bright side. Today, India is the hottest country for people to put their money, because they know India has 1.4 billion people, which means we do not need to export our products to become profitable. We can make a product, sell it within India and become a very, very large company. Reliance and Jio is one of the biggest examples, right? That is the reason why out of the 10 investments which happens in the country, most of them are, investing in Indian startups. That is something which is very interesting to look at. Also, if you look at the other part, in 1980s, a lot of startups started in Silicon Valley, which is in San Francisco, United States. And at the same time, HNIs and executives who are working in large companies, they started investing in these startups. So India picked up very late. We have started the Indian startup ecosystem in around, I would say, 10. And even after 2010, around 2013 and 14, the ecosystem started picking up. But in just 10 years, India is now the third largest ecosystem in the world. Give it some more years, you will see India would be one of the best ecosystem in the world, and we'll see a lot of investors coming from India. In fact, right now, there are a lot of funds such as, you mentioned Sequoia, but Sequoia is again an American company. If you look at Indian companies, we have Kalari, we have Bloom, we have Venture Catalyst, which is now the 7th largest investment network in the world, ranked by Crunchbase. We have Nine Unicorn, which is a VC fund coming up. So a lot of billionaires who are Indian, a lot of HNIs, a lot of entrepreneurs who are successful, they are now going back to support startup ecosystem. And you'll see few years down the line, we will have Indian startups solving the problem both for India and the world, and Indian investors will be putting money into that. So I think that is my take on this question, Aditya.
Definitely, sir. Since India is a consumer-based market, so the opportunity is huge, and we have already seen that many startup founders like Sachin and Binny Bansal are coming out and they are investing in new startups. So yeah, definitely we hope that India will lead the way in this regard. So the next question is, gig economy is seeing a rise in the country like India. People with no particular offices or professions, but they are leading a nomadic career. Why do you think that? What do you think about the long-term viability of this concept, that people are basically going more for the freelancing kind of job, and the office or the monotonous job preference is getting reduced in India?
Sure. Okay. You need to help me answer this question. Tell me, Aditya, tomorrow if I tell you that I'll give you a job, you can get a very nice salary and you can work from anywhere in the world. You can go to Bali, you can go to Thailand, you can go to Singapore and you can work from there, wherever you want to stay. You don't need to come to office. Would you be interested or not?
Definitely, sir.
Exactly. And that is exactly which has given birth to a new concept called digital nomad. I'm very proud that I'm a digital nomad myself. I travel 20 to 22 days a month across the country and outside. I do not have a fixed office. I can work from wherever I can get an internet connection on my phone, on my laptop, and that is my office. I do not need to invest on an office and get that infrastructure. In fact, my team also works remotely from wherever they want to. This culture has given creative freedom to people so that they can go out and think and explore. Unless your job require you to go to an office, you don't really need to go to an office. You can work from wherever you're comfortable, because if you're comfortable, you can bring the best creativity and the best productivity. And that is why today a lot of people are more comfortable in a way where they can work from a co-working space, or they can work from a remote office, or they can work from even a Starbucks or a cafe. That culture has become very, very prominent and very, very popular. And I think post-COVID, all the big companies across the world have realized. In fact, Twitter has already announced that employees of Twitter can work from home or wherever indefinitely. They don't need to come to office, right? Similarly, Google and Facebook and all these big companies are giving this flexibility. So I think this is going to be very good. You don't need to be bound to a physical location in order to perform your duty unless it is required. So gig economy, as you mentioned, is very, very interesting. Gig economy can give employment opportunity to so many people who are living in remote areas, tier 2, tier 3 cities, and it would help so that people can achieve their dreams without without moving. So let's say I'm from a very small village in Jharkhand. Today I'm here in my hometown for the last 4.5 months, and I'm able to perform all my job. I got a chance to spend time with my family after 16 years. Now that is amazing. I don't need to go back and work. I can just do this, and this would give opportunity to people in small villages in Bihar, Jharkhand, Manipur, Tripura, and across the world. If you look at Indonesia and Taiwan and Vietnam, all of the countries can take advantage of the gig economy.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sir, the next question, we have already talked about how the upcoming AI technology and other technical aspect has been in the workforce. But sir, we have also seen that many startups are now releasing employees during this pandemic. And we also know that most of the unicorns are incurring huge losses nowadays. With this in the background, do you really think that the excitement that we had regarding the startup ecosystem that was actually popping up in India was instead it was a bubble which has bursted at the first sign of trouble, or whether these companies are going to come back stronger and harder?
Sure. So my one line answer to this, 100%. They are going to come back very, very hard and they'll bounce back soon. My long answer to this is that if you look at, this is not the first time the world is going through crisis. We have had crisis, which was the Great Depression after the World War I, and then we had dot-com bubble burst, and then we had financial meltdown in 2008. But if you look at the best companies like WhatsApp, Uber, Zomato, Slack, all of them started during this financial crisis. And this COVID-19 crisis has also given birth to so many amazing companies such as MyLab, which create COVID-19 testing kit, or companies like Zoom and Zomato and Swiggy and Flipkart and JioMart. All these companies are solving day-to-day problems. So startups and businesses, both of them have to change their business model. They cannot work the same way it was earlier. You need to be available online as well as offline. You need to connect with your customer very easily, and you should not be spending so much money on things which are not necessary. So today, if you are a startup, you need to understand by using technology, you can actually get the same work done by 10 people for which you otherwise would hire 100 people. Now that is the challenge and a situation. But imagine, as a business owner, you would like to save money, and that is where the challenge is going to come, where basic jobs are going to be replaced by machines. So people need to understand that they cannot be taking their jobs for granted, and they cannot expect the same level of, I mean, I would say people take things for granted. I have a job, I'll go to office, I'll come back. You need to be creative so that you can still be relevant. That's one part. The second part is definitely you need to have business ethics. You cannot fire people just like that. You need to be responsible employer. But again, if COVID-19 lockdown is going on for 6 months, you cannot, get revenue, and you have to pay a lot of people. At times, you might have to look at people who are not, contributing, and you have to let them go. You can definitely hire again, but this is a critical scenario, and I would recommend all the people, you need to work on your skills. I cannot emphasize more than ever that you need to work on your skills. The last part of this thing I would like to very quickly talk about is that companies across the world, especially startups, don't judge them on how much profit they're making today, because their business models are designed in such a way that it would take some time for them to change customer buying behavior. When Amazon started, people were not comfortable buying online. But look at today, Amazon is the default e-commerce website. Similarly, companies like Dunzo and companies like Swiggy, when they started, people were not very sure about how this would work out. But look at them today. Can you survive in a metro city without using Zomato, Uber and Swiggy? I don't think so. They are still not making profit, but these are not losses. These are delayed revenues. It would come back, and come back much more than what a normal company can make. So I'm very, very confident, more than confident, that all these startups are going to come back, and not only they will make revenue and profit, but they would also be employing millions of people across the country.
Definitely, sir. And since there was a huge hue and cry regarding the job getting revoked, I believe that the more people will come out in the market, the more people, the brains that will be coming out, they will think about the new ecosystem, and they may come up with some idea that can be converted into a new startup, and that can again contribute to the startup ecosystem. And instead of job seekers, they again can become the job providers for the masses.
Certainly.
Okay, sir. Sir, the next question is, what is your opinion about the current policies by Indian and state governments, and what do you think can more be done for this startup sector overall?
Sure. So I have been fortunate. I've got an opportunity to be part of the team which was making the policy for Startup India, Government of India. And then in my current role, I also get a chance to work with various state government and central government to work on various policies. I would say India has done well in the last few years, where we have got ease of doing business better, and startup policies are now implemented centrally as well as various states. But still, to be honest, on the ground, we have so much more to achieve. It's not the best one, but yes, it's a good effort. You need to understand, India is a very large country. In fact, it's a continent locked inside a country. So it takes some time. From a time you can collect ideas on policy reform, and you can actually bring those policy changes. So it's going to take some time. I'm a firm believer in public policy. I actually love public policy. That is why I have been working with so many government agencies on helping them with their policy initiative. And I believe that a lot of changes needs to be done. We need to, make company incorporation much easier. We need to work on e-commerce policies. We need to work on ride-sharing policies. We need to work on how government can invest in startups at an early stage. We need to work on how startups can work in various countries. We need to work on how startups can file patent on an algorithm or a software. All these things need to be done slowly, but it's going on. So I think a lot to be done in the policy aspect.
Okay. Sure, sir. We thank you for your wonderful responses. Hope your thoughts will transform our students, and they will start thinking about the job opportunities start thinking in a new direction. Instead of being the job seekers, they will try to be the job providers for the nation and the society as a whole. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I wish you and everyone who's listening to this podcast a huge success. Not everyone needs to become a startup, but every one of you have to become an entrepreneur, because without having the skill of an entrepreneur, you cannot succeed. Be it a government job, a private job, a family business, or a startup. You need to have entrepreneurship as a skill. If you require, go ahead and build a startup, but you cannot survive and thrive without thinking and acting like an entrepreneur.
Definitely, sir.